More than 70 million Americans have some sort of criminal or arrest record, and for many, that can prevent them from passing a background check and getting a job. Amna Nawaz is back now to profile one woman's fight to overcome her past and to prove herself at one of the biggest tech companies in the world. It's part of our Searching for Justice series, looking at the challenges after incarceration.
From days spent working from home in sales for Microsoft,
Come on, Bella. Let's go.
to evening strolls with her husband and dog,
I had a lot of meetings, like back to back.
Shelley Winter's life here in California's Bay Area today is one she could have never imagined just a few years ago.
If someone would have told me when I was sitting back in my prison cell 5-6 years ago that one day I'd be working at Microsoft, I would have laughed in their face.
Her path to that prison cell, she says, began early. Winter grew up in Sacramento. Her mother, she says, was often absent. Her stepfather was in and out of prison.
He told me the rule of the house was if I wanted to do any hard drugs, that I had to bring them home and share them with him. And he was using and selling meth out of our home. I didn't know what a hangover was, but looking back now, I was definitely hungover at 11 years old.
As a teen, she began using crystal meth. In her 20s, her addiction eventually eclipsed everything else.
I couldn't keep a regular job working 8 hours. Drugs was more important to me. Lived that life for well over a decade. Started selling drugs and eventually got caught by the federal government. And right after my arrest, that's when I found out I was pregnant.
Pregnant, fighting addiction, and facing a 10-year sentence, Winter decided to change. She entered rehab, got clean, and 2 months after giving birth to her son, reported to prison. She served 1.5 years of a 4-year sentence and says that time was transformational, thanks to a number of programs available inside. When she got out in 2016, she was ready for a new life and knew exactly what she wanted to do.
You know what's funny is when I was running and gunning, my favorite thing to do when I got high was build and fix computers.
Just a few months free, staying in a halfway house, she landed an interview for a retail position in a Microsoft store.
Here I was fresh out of prison, and now I'm interviewing with one of the biggest tech companies in the world. And I knew if I could get my foot in the door at this company that my life would drastically change.
So do you get the job after the interview?
She hired me right on the spot.
Winter knew her record would show up in a background check, so she decided to be upfront and lay her cards on the table.
All of those certificates of rehabilitative classes that I took in prison, I had all of them. And so I scanned them all to my cloud drive and I attached them to that letter and I sent it off because I wanted them to see that I wasn't lying. Unfortunately, they came back and said, "We are not going to move forward with your hire."
So to go from that to having that offer taken away,
Yeah,
what did that feel like?
it was devastating. I felt like I was forever going to be punished for my criminal record for the rest of my life. That I was going to be wearing these invisible handcuffs for the rest of my life. And although I had paid my debt to society, it wasn't enough.
Shelley Winter had just run into the same barrier as millions of other formerly incarcerated people. But because this job was in San Francisco, Shelley had access to something most don't, a law that gave her the legal grounds to fight for that job.
In 2014, San Francisco's mayor signed the Fair Chance Ordinance, requiring employers to consider mitigating circumstances and evidence of rehabilitation for any job applicant with a criminal record. It also requires employers to prove that criminal record is relevant to the job before turning down the applicant. On those grounds, Winter challenged Microsoft's denial in 2017. She was invited to re-interview and this time got the job.
I was so excited. All of that devastation and that hurt and that sadness, gone. I mean, I was just ecstatic. And I remember the recruiter, she says, "Wow, you know, I've never had a response like this before." I said, "Girl, I have gone through it.
So if this law wasn't on the books and Shelley hadn't called you, what would have been her recourse?
She wouldn't have had any direct recourse.
Patrick Mulligan leads San Francisco's Office of Labor Standards Enforcement, which implements that Fair Chance Ordinance.
There's 70 million Americans, adult Americans, that have some sort of arrest or conviction history. The employment is regarded as probably the #1 issue regarding recidivism in this country. So I think issues that affect a third of the adult population, I think, are important for everybody.
Across the country, 37 states and more than 150 cities and counties have ban-the-box rules that prevent public sector employers from asking about incarceration on a job application. But only 15 states and 22 localities require the same for private employers. And even fewer states, cities, and counties include laws for private employers that are as strong as San Francisco's.
There will be people who say, shouldn't employers be allowed to say who gets to work for their companies and who doesn't?
They do, but there are some restrictions on that. We already have laws in place around racial bias, discriminatory practices, and this really just falls among those.
So the systems are there to help vet and qualify candidates quickly and get you the right people, which is the right thing to do. The challenge is the system looking for people that can help your company change?
Jason Ford is a Microsoft executive who met Winter while she worked in the retail job.
What if you were only known for the worst thing that you have ever done?
He saw a TEDx presentation she gave in 2019, advocating for other formerly incarcerated people, and says he was immediately impressed.
And the reason that I know this is because the worst thing that I'd ever done landed me in prison.
Ford wanted to promote her from retail to his corporate team. This time, when her background check raised concerns, Ford pushed back.
We are really focused on trying to be very thoughtful and inclusive. Sometimes you have to push the systems to catch up to it, but sometimes the systems don't know that these communities are areas that we can tap into for talent. And so it just takes, I think, a forceful perspective for people to lean in.
And that includes formerly incarcerated people.
Formerly incarcerated people are a huge population. They have to be contributing members of society. So maybe not all of them are going to be capable of doing some of the things that we're asking, or maybe not all of them bring the diversity that we would need, but there's no way that none of them do.
Earlier this year, Microsoft joined the Second Chance Business Coalition, a group of major corporations pledging to expand hiring and advancement of people with criminal records. Winter is now 2.5 years into her corporate job, working in Surface tablet sales to other businesses. Her latest fight is for full custody of her son, who's been with other family since she went to prison. Still, Winter says she is grateful for her second chances and knows there are many more people out there who need them too.
As formerly incarcerated, we tend to get beat down by society's stigmas and beliefs about us, and we tend to buy into those beliefs. I wasn't going to do that. I was going to show society that I am a worthy person, that I deserve to have an amazing job. I deserve to be a productive member of society. This whole process, I've had a lot of fear, and there were times where I almost gave up, but I'm so glad I didn't.
For the PBS NewsHour, I'm Amna Nawaz in Vallejo, California.